Daybreak just released their Q2 producers letter, and it's got the rule set for the 2025 TLP server that will come out on May 28th this year. No name has been released for it yet, and it's really all over the place with respect to the rules. Tons of stuff in here, really. So let's take a look. First, they call this an expanded start, which is level 50 level locked, but everything through Lucklin is available. So no AAs in that first period, can't get past level 50, but you will be able to start with Ixars and Beast Lords, which is a pretty frequent ask, so they're trying that one out this year. And that lasts 24 weeks, so half a year. Ouch. Who's up for doing North Tav twice a week for 6 months because you can't clear the whole thing in a 6-hour DZ at level 50? Or doing Imp Straw without RGC AAs or mezzing available? VT would probably take quite a while at level 50 as well, unless you're going to have the whole guild running through the rafters. I honestly don't think a lot of guilds will be raiding the level 60 content at level 50, or only in open world to throw enough bodies at stuff. I'm guessing Kale would probably be a good early target to farm gear, since you can bind a raid in there. I'm sure we'll see a lot of new and unique strategies for gearing a raid up at the start. Oh, and then they got another 12 weeks of still being in Lucklin, but you get to be level 60, and only then it transitions to Planes of Power. So it's 9 months total in Lucklin. Well, the early expansions plus Lucklin. And then from Planes of Power, it follows the normal cadence. I suppose that means 3 months Planes of Power, 1 month Eldon, 2 months GOD, etc. All right, part 2 is this thing called Resource Hunter, which looks like every day a random zone will have some sort of bonus, be it experience, increased loot, AAs, and such. It's not clear if it's only one of those or multiple at the same time. That honestly sounds kind of cool. I guess it'll depend how much the bonuses are, and if it's the useful ones, like increased experience, or instead it's just increased coins. Who really knows what they mean by the ... and more? I guess that's part of the discovery. So those are the two main features they mentioned, but the server has a lot of other stuff going on as well. It'll have encounter locking, which I think will probably make sense for this sort of server, since it seems to be more aiming for casual group content type folks. It'll also have legacy characters. If you forget, those are where every time you make an alt on an account that gets to max level, it'll give you 10% bonus experience on all the characters on that account. Also, the DZ lockouts are character rather than account based. So you can make 10 alts on an account, for example, and run Nagafen DZ 10 times a week if you're just that degenerate. They were a little cagey about if gear is heirloom or that was specific just for Oakwind, so I'm not sure if the new server would have that feature for legacy characters or not. I'm honestly a bit surprised they brought this back after Personas, since it seems like it cut into Persona sales quite a bit given how overlapping the concepts are. The main difference is that your legacy characters are going to have separate DZ lockouts, but Personas all share the same one. Seems like they're really thinking people like to make lots of alts and mess around in group content for months on end, or that this is the target audience for this type of server. All right, one last feature here is Truebox, which is pretty standard on recent TLPs and means you can only have one instance of EQ running from each physical computer you have. So you can box, you just need multiple computers to do that. And it's getting removed starting in Planes of Power. That's a good change from the normal relaxing in Omens, and then completely removing in the Buried Sea expansion, but still quite late. Here it'll be 9 months into the server when Planes of Power launches. One nice thing that I really appreciate in this producer's letter is that they've added some explanation of how the server came to be, which is quite nice and interesting to read through. I'd suggest you take a glance through that whenever you get a second. I just want to talk about one of these here in this video, which is the bullet labeled Slow Initial Unlocks. It says, the fact is the population on every progression server declines as more and more expansions unlock. So, to keep a healthy server population for a longer period, We are extending the unlock time within some of the early expansions. We hope the slower initial progression leads to a longer, healthier progression server over the lifespan of the server. So I'm just going to be frank here and say this really shows a disconnect from their player base. The thing that kills the progression servers isn't that the early expansions are so good and people want to sit in them forever. Those players aren't going to sub your game for years at a time. They're already freeloading on P99 if that's really what they want to do. It's rather that the servers sit in these expansions that have very limited content for ages, and people drift off one at a time or in batches because they've done what they wanted to and either just don't come back for the next expansion or if there's any catch up involved. If you're going to play on this server, you definitely want to go into it with a 1 year time frame and no intent to play past that. It's got a bunch of interesting stuff going on at the start that will undoubtedly challenge players in new ways. But with that long in the early expansions and not offering really anything that unusual past them, attrition will definitely be pretty high. In any case, let me know in the comments who's planning on playing here. Any big guilds making the move over? Any changes y'all think are needed? Maybe a few of the things Vaniki got, such as improved resist for casters, or no required level to pair with the early level locking, would be good ideas. Those are the two things that come to mind for me at least. Oh, one very last thing. I'll be running a bunch of carry raids on Vaniki between now and when that launches for those of you who want to snag those before it does go live. So be on the lookout for them. I run those free of charge, but if you want a guaranteed spot for an early invite, that option is available by joining the YouTube channel. Alright, see y'all on some of those runs I hope, and you can let me know more what you're thinking about this server. Until then, good luck out there everyone.